Hey guys, it's goldiex here and welcome to my top 25 favourite video games of all time list as of 2020. Basically my Christmas special for 2020. In this video I'm going to count down my favourite video games of all time, as I've been wanting to make one of these videos for quite some time now. I just want to make a few points before we begin the countdown. Firstly, please be a little bit open-minded about my choices, as these are my personal favourite games. This list is not going to be a list of the most critically received games of all time, just my personal favourites. Secondly, one game per franchise, because otherwise this list would be full of loads of games from certain franchises and that would make this a bit boring, let's be honest. Lastly, we all know gaming is a big hobby of mine, so there were so many games I wanted to include in this list but unfortunately could not make it on the list. So before we get to number 25, here are some quick honourable mentions I would like to shout out before we start. So here are my honourable mentions in no particular order. Sonic Sega All-Stars Racing, Infamous, Red Dead Redemption 2, Simpsons Hit and Run, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Medal of Honor, Max Payne 3, Heavenly Sword, Homefront, Devil May Cry, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Little Big Planet 2, Klonoa, Dead Island, Lego Star Wars Complete Saga, Minecraft, Super Mario 64 DS, Unit 13, Doom, Monster Inc. Scare Island, Resistance 3, Toy Story 2, 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, WWE 2011, Half-Life 2, Battlefield 4, Ape Escape, Everybody's Golf and Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. Those are all fantastic but unfortunately did not quite make it onto this list. So with that being said, let's begin now with number 25. Welcome everyone to my top 25 favourite video games of all time as of 2020. Number 25 goes to my favourite shooter on the PS2, and for a good reason. TimeSplitters 2 is a very well made first person shooter with some of the smoothest and satisfying combat you will see on the PS2. The diversity of this game is insane because every level is a different time period to explore with its own objectives to complete and guns to use to unleash hell upon your enemies. For example, in one mission you'll be exploring the 1800s Wild West, another in 1930s Chicago, and some levels are even set in the future. In fact, I almost remember all the levels off by heart just because of how well designed they are. The soundtrack is fantastic, accommodating each level and time period perfectly, and despite me never getting the chance to play the game's multiplayer modes, I could tell by the gameplay I've seen that multiplayer in this game looks like a lot of fun. TimeSplitters 1 and Future Perfect are also great games, but for me, TimeSplitters 2 has the most memorable level designs and time periods to make it the best game in the series in my opinion. If there is one game franchise that needs to make a comeback or get the remastered treatment, it is TimeSplitters. Why has this series not been remastered yet? Seriously. These games really have stood the test of time. Get it? TimeSplitters? Test of time? I should shut up. Number 24 goes to another first-person shooter. Don't worry, this list is not going to be filled with first-person shooter games. Far Cry 3 is a classic open-world first-person shooter game and the Far Cry game that put the series on the map and made the series what it is today. This game has so much going for it. The plot of the game is Jason Brody and his friends go on holiday to Rook Island, which, by the way, is a beautiful island but unfortunately holds many dark secrets up its sleeves. As a result, Jason and his friends get kidnapped and end up stranded on Rook Island. Throughout this journey you can climb radio towers, hunt animals, liberate outposts, meet strange people and the island's inhabitants. The world map is bursting with life and activity. Rook Island is a beautiful island that can really make the island feel like home despite the dangers lurking on the island. Each mission is fun, has its purpose in the game. Some missions involve sinking ships, gliding around the island, killing people savagely, burning weed fields, which by the way has a kick-ass song playing while you do it, playing poker, exploring caves and so much more. Skydiving on the island from the sky is so thrilling and gliding from high places really shows the beauty of Rook Island. Upgrading weapons and crafting items is satisfying. The mission variety and the amount of side activities you can do on the island will definitely keep the player invested in this game for quite some time. Hell, even exploring beautiful tropical paradise Rook Island for secrets is fun and interesting and will keep players exploring the island for a while. This game is an amazing open world first person shooter, easily one of my favourite FPS games of all time. If you're a fan of open world first person shooter games and never played this game, you seriously need to try it. Play Far Cry 3, especially if you're a fan of open world first person shooter games. Also play the other Far Cry games as well if you get a chance. I guarantee you will enjoy them. Now, I'm not the biggest gamer when it comes to anime. I haven't really played many anime games in my lifetime, but the Persona series really does hold a special place in my heart. Persona 4 Golden really is something special for me. The more I kept playing this game, the more and more I got hooked into it. This game has a lot to offer you and I've wasted hours and hours in this game. This game is set in a small Japanese town called Inaba, which is located in the Japanese countryside. You play as a teenage schoolboy who goes to live with his uncle for a year while his parents work abroad. But as he arrives in this peaceful village, many murders begin to take place in the area. Also, a rumour goes around school that by looking at a TV screen at midnight on a rainy night reveals the face of your soulmate. The murders are also connected to the TV, so you gather your team strong enough, which are your school friends, to enter this world inside your TV to solve this strange mystery. This game has such a big and interesting story. There is so much in this story that it will keep you invested for days. Quite literally. Persona 4 Golden adds even more content than the original Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2, released 4 years before. In short, this game is absolutely amazing. If you're into RPGs, anime and high school drama, this game is 100% for you. Exploring the TV world with your friends and rescuing people is so much fun. Honestly, it does not get repetitive one bit. Creating personas and unleashing their power is so satisfying, and leveling up for new abilities is just the icing on the cake. The TV world has plenty of different worlds to explore, from a castle to a nightclub and many more interesting worlds. Also, the outside world also has plenty for you to do. Socialising with friends, going to school is also fun and offers so much for you. There is hours and hours of dialogue where you socialise with friends, and honestly it never gets boring, and in some cases they can be the most entertaining parts of the game. The bond you create with these characters is literally unforgettable and can really show what friendship is about. You can even ask one of the girls to be your girlfriend. How cute. Using and upgrading personas in the TV world, rescuing people and killing shadows. Attending after school clubs to find and revise for exams can increase your abilities. Don't worry, the exams are not difficult, I promise. There are only a few questions. Also, the game soundtrack is amazing and does not get boring for me despite listening to it loads and loads of times throughout the game. There is so much to do in this game. It's easily one of the biggest PS Vita games you can play, and this game has been regarded as the best Vita game ever made, and I can totally see why. I've only been playing this game for over a year now, and I cannot believe I missed out on this game for all those years. I knew of this game's existence, but this game never interested me years ago. However, 2 years ago I decided to buy the game brand new off Amazon. I decided to try it, and boy was it so worth it. This game really exceeded my expectations and is easily one of my favourite Vita games. Hell, I would even recommend a PS Vita just to play this game. Persona 4 Golden is that good. This game is on most people's top 10 PS Vita games of all time. It is definitely on mine. This game is literally a perfect portable game, and if you're a fan of RPG and anime games, you really need to play this game. No excuses. Number 22 goes to another open world first person shooter, but a very unique one. The Borderlands series as a whole is one of the most addicting first person shooters I've ever played, and all of the games have kept me hooked on them for hours. The series started off a bit iffy if you ask me with the first installment. Not that the first game was bad, but no way near as good as the sequels. For me though, Borderlands 2 is my favourite in this series, not because I've spent the most time with it, but it's the one I've been hooked onto the longest. I found the game a bit tricky to get into when I first played it, but luckily for me, I came back to it sometime later and oh boy did I fall in love with it. Borderlands 2 and the other Borderlands games are well known for many things. Smooth, addicting gameplay, strange but lovable art style graphics, a gazillions of weapons to choose from, possibly the best humour I've ever encountered in gaming, easily putting a smile on my face and in some cases even had me laughing out loud. The characters all with their own unique personalities and charm, and of course the biggest arsewide protagonist I've encountered in gaming history, Handsome Jack. He is the most arrogant and cocky antagonist I've ever seen. That also makes him enjoyable to listen to as well, and that honestly is quite an achievement in itself. Of course, the best thing about Borderlands 2 is easy to satisfying and addicting gameplay, which also helps with possibly some of the best weapons and grenades in gaming history. Many with unique purposes and abilities to make them effective against many different enemies around the planet Pandora, which the game is set in. Pandora has so many memorable locations and dangerous places to explore, all well detailed with many fun side quests, enemies to encounter and weapons to use, many very satisfying, some which can even electrocute enemies and even burn them with corrosive acid, and so much more. Even vehicles can shoot unlimited amounts of ammo with rockets. What else can you say about Borderlands 2 and the series as a whole? Borderlands 2 is a pure example of an amazing open world first person shooter game. It literally does everything right for an open world first person shooter. Now this racing game may not be the most critically acclaimed game out there, but still Drive Club is a very fun realistic driving simulator that offers you a lot. The amount to do in this game by unlocking new cars and racing on plenty of different tracks will definitely keep racers engaged for a while. This game looks so beautiful, easily one of the best looking racing games I've ever played that easily shows off the graphical capabilities of the PS4. As this is called Drive Club, the purpose of this game is to race in a club to earn bigger and even more rewards. Unlocking new cars and trying them out for yourself is just icing on the cake. Not to mention this game even includes Drive Club bikes, which you have to unlock as DLC to be fair, offers you more playstyles and can also offer even more challenges. To sum up this game, it is a beautiful racing game with so much to do, great for new and experienced racers. We all remember how great Spider-Man 2 was on the PS2, right? Well, in 2018, Insomniac Games released a Spider-Man game fans have been waiting for since the days of Spider-Man 2. Needless to say, the wait was well worth it. Marvel Spider-Man on PS4 is an amazing Spider-Man game with great gameplay and so much to do. Exploring modern day New York City is interesting and with so much around Manhattan to do, with plenty of missions and side quests to do to keep you entertained for a very long time. The combat is fun, satisfying and so smooth to pull off, and the amounts of gadgets Spider-Man has in his arsenal is one of the many reasons why fighting bad guys in this game is so fun to do. The story follows Peter Parker aka Spider-Man as he tries to balance his heroic and personal life. Many familiar villains from previous adventures return to cause chaos around New York, and it's up to Spider-Man to stop them and save the day. This game ticks all the boxes that make this game a great Spider-Man game. This game really is a blast. Number 19 goes to a very underrated game in my opinion. Yes, I understand why some people didn't like this game, but me personally, I liked it. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale is basically Sony's answer to Nintendo's Smash Bros. Series. And that's why some people weren't that keen on this game, because of some of the things this game did differently. Instead of knocking your opponent off the screen to kill your opponents like in Smash Bros, in this game you fill up your power meter by attacking your opponents once he has reached a certain level. You can then unleash a deadly attack to then take out your opponent. Honestly, I like this playstyle. This game has a good variety of maps to fight on. Certain franchises can invade the maps, and it can really add a nice touch to the fight, and it can make the fights more diverse and interesting. This game also has a decent roster of PlayStation mascots from over the years, characters such as Kratos, Sackboy, Nathan Drake, Jack and Daxter, and many more. Although somehow this game did not include Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Why? How can you leave Crash and Spyro out? They made PlayStation what it is today. Anyway, all the characters have their own story in the arcade mode, each fun to play through. The best thing about this game for me though is the online mode. The amount of memories I have from the online mode are some of the best online gaming memories I have, and I do not regret wasting any of my life over it. This game was judged a bit too unfairly in my opinion when it came out. In fact, I would love to see a sequel to this game one day. A sequel with more characters, maps, and improved certain aspects of the gameplay, then I think the sequel would be a success. Don't you think? My favourite Spyro game is the first Spyro game, Spyro the Dragon. Why not Spyro 3? Sure, Spyro 3 mastered the gameplay mechanics and added new characters to play as, and probably had the best soundtrack, but I have so much nostalgia from Spyro 1 I cannot possibly tell you. Each level is memorable with plenty of dragons to rescue, which by the way is satisfying to do each dragon you rescue with their own unique name, and some even give you some tips and tricks as you play through the game. Collecting treasure is addicting, each colour worth more than others. The gliding levels are fun and also provide a bit of challenge. Every level is well designed and fun to explore, well maybe except the treetops level. That level annoyed the hell out of me. This game is filled with some great levels, and it definitely will keep you engaged for a few hours. This game is filled with so much nostalgia for me. Spyro 2 and 3 may be better Spyro games technically, but I just love the first Spyro game, alright? Nostalgia is so strong with the first Spyro game. Number 17 goes to another PlayStation Vita gem. Wipeout 2048 is a fun, fast-paced racing game and one that I poured hours into for so many reasons. This was also a launch title for the Vita and one of the first games I got for the system alongside Uncharted Golden Abyss, FIFA Football and Rayman Origins. I poured hours into this fun racing game. The racing is fast-paced, chaotic and filled with plenty of Wipeout modes that has made the franchise popular over the years. Modes such as racing, time trial, combat and my favourite Wipeout mode, Zone. I poured hours into Zone. The campaign has plenty of races to race through in the years 2048, 2049 and 2050. The soundtrack in this game is bloody fantastic. Probably the best licensed soundtrack in gaming. I could listen to this soundtrack for hours. I am not kidding. This game is easily a PS Vita classic. Play this game if you get the chance. Also play this game on the Wipeout Mega Collection on PS4 as well if you don't have a PlayStation Vita. There are no excuses for you to not play this game. Games like this made the PlayStation Vita so underappreciated like many other PS Vita gems. The Dead or Alive series is my favourite fighting franchise of all time. I know I said in my Dead or Alive Let's Plays that the Dead or Alive 5 was my favourite in this series, but my mind has changed a bit since then if I'm being honest. My new favourite is Dead or Alive 6. I'm not the biggest game when it comes to fighting games, but this is a beautiful fighting game. I still think Dead or Alive 5 has a better story, but Dead or Alive 6 perfects the fighting mechanics for me, adding new mechanics to prevent fights being a bit less one-sided than previous installments. Every fighting location is well detailed and changes scenery to change the pace of the fight, with plenty of traps to use the environment in your favour. The soundtrack in this game is amazing, with so many to pick from as my favourite, easily one of my favourite soundtracks in gaming. Of course, how can I talk about Dead or Alive and not mention the characters? The series is well known for its characters, especially the girls. They are very sexy, especially in this game thanks to the graphical enhancements of the new consoles, and Kazumi is my favourite. If you guys been around on my channel for a while now, you'll probably know that Kazumi is my video game crush. I love her, she is beautiful. Kazumi is also the reason why I got so hooked into this franchise in the first place. Kazumi aside though, I love the fighting in this game. The characters and the gameplay are so easy to learn, and it's the perfect fighting game to get started with if you want to get into fighting games. If you're a fan of fighting games and haven't played this game yet, then you need to try it, you won't regret it. This really is the fighting game for me. Kazumi is bae. I'm pretty sure we all remember when Grand Theft Auto 5 was released back in 2013, right? This game was so highly anticipated and so many people bought this game when it was released. And surprise surprise, I was one of those people. Well, my parents actually bought it for me. But anyway, Grand Theft Auto 5 dwarfs all the other GTA games before. I mean, all you have to do is look at the gameplay of the game, and then you'll realise why this game is so popular in the game community, and in my opinion, my favourite GTA game. Not only do you get to explore the huge open world area of Los Santos and surrounding areas, which really makes this game feel like a huge living world instead of a living city like in previous GTA games. You can also not only play as one, but three protagonists, Michael, Franklin and Trevor. Michael being a sort of a retired criminal, Franklin being a young typical gangster, and Trevor who is an absolute psychopath. All three characters have their own personalities and backstories which really start to blend in during the game's story to easily make this story the best in the franchise in my opinion. The world of this game is huge with tons of story missions and plenty of side stuff to do around Los Santos, really making this game feel endless. There is so much to do in this game. This game really exceeded my expectations when I played it, and to this day it remains my favourite GTA game. Number 14 goes to a very revolutionary game for its time when released on the Sega Dreamcast back in 1999. Shenmue is an amazing action-adventure game with a story about an 18-year-old teenage boy, Ryo Hazuki, who goes on a quest to find his father's killer and seek his revenge. Throughout this journey you'll get to meet and interact with interesting characters and explore Japan in an attempt to find clues about why Landy, the antagonist, kills Ryo's father. This game was also one of the first games to have a bad ending if you did not beat the game before a certain day in the game. The fighting mechanics are fun to master and to use against people who stand in your way, and trust me, if you're going to get revenge on a martial arts expert, Ryo is going to need all the fighting knowledge he can gather. Forklift drop at the harbour is so much fun and really attempting to get good at. The U-Arcade tweet has so many fun games to play, and I poured hours in some of these mini games just because they were so fun. A great idea to waste time when you are waiting for a particular objective or a particular shop to open in the area. This game is really alive with plenty of things to do, such talk to characters, play arcade games, work at the harbour. This game really has a lot of interesting moments for you to discover as you explore the world and discover everything the game world has to offer as the story builds up more and more, as Ryo gains clues about his father's murder and how he wants to get his revenge. Also, how can I not mention the soundtrack in this game? This soundtrack is honestly one of the best I've heard in gaming, if not the best. This game has so many memorable soundtracks throughout the game. In a nutshell, I love this game. I'm glad I finally got the opportunity to play this game when both Shenmue 1 and 2 got remastered for PS4 and Xbox One. Uncharted 4 or Thieves End is my favourite installment in the Uncharted franchise. All the other Uncharted games are also fantastic and worth playing, but Uncharted 4 in my opinion had the best gameplay mechanics and the best story. In this adventure, Nathan Drake and his long lost brother Sam go on an adventure to find Avery's treasure across Madagascar. There's more to the story, but that is the main plot of the game. In my opinion, the story in this game is the most memorable, emotional, and entertaining for me. The game is the best looking in graphics and plays the smoothest as well alongside the Lost Legacy. Every character is memorable and entertaining, and the amount of detail in the world of this game is just incredible. This is one game that can really show off the power of the PS4 graphically. The amount of action in this game and locations you can explore really makes this game so interesting to play through. Some locations game look beautiful. The game has so many memorable moments from climbing the clock tower in Madagascar City, and that is followed with one of the best car chases I've ever seen in gaming. Sam breaking out of Panamanian jail, which also reveals Sam's backstory, is honestly so engaging and really emotional in some places with plenty of twists and turns. I even spent hours admiring how beautiful island locations are in Chapter 12, where Sam and Nathan are out at sea looking for Avery's treasure. The puzzles are fun to solve, even though I'm not the biggest fan of puzzles in Uncharted games or any other games. Honestly, for me, this game never had a dull moment in the story, and all the action sequences were so fun and entertaining and smooth and satisfying to pull off against your enemies. The multiplayer in this game is also a blast and is worth coming back to now and again. Overall, this game is just amazing and it never felt boring or dull. It was interesting and entertaining from start to finish. Picking my favourite God of War game was not easy. It was so close between the first God of War and the 2018 God of War, but in the end I just had to go with the first God of War. I just couldn't leave this game out of this list as it is my favourite hack and slash game of all time, as well as the game that got me into hack and slash games in the first place. This is how you make a hack and slash game. It's gory, plenty of different locations to explore and enemies to fight. Also the combat, fuck yeah, the combat. Combat in this game is honestly so smooth and charming to pull off. The way Kratos can pull off different moves to take out his opponents is so awesome to watch and shows how much of a badass he is. Every boss battle is great and memorable. Every enemy you encounter, big or small, feels like a threat. Upgrading your moveset is so rewarding and makes the combat more satisfying to pull off. Every weapon used in the game is useful at some point and can all be upgraded. Every character you encounter is memorable and some very well designed to make it so rewarding when you kill them. This is how a hack and slash games are meant to be done. I mean there are loads of hack and slash games out there I love playing, but God of War just nails everything about what makes a great hack and slash game. Murdering enemies and watching Kratos become the God of War as he takes on literally everything that stands in his way just makes him such a badass video game character. I just love his fearless and arsehole-ish personality. It actually suits him if you ask me. God of War is easily my favourite hack and slash game of all time, a classic that will be loved for generations. At number 11 we have Rayman Origins. Why not Rayman Legends? Sure, Rayman Legends is a superior game with most, if not all, the Rayman Origins levels added into the game, with loads of new characters, levels, and redefined parts of the gameplay to make it technically the better game. But I have so much love and nostalgia for Rayman Origins it's hard to describe. I even remember when this game was being advertised on TV when it was being released, and I thought to myself, wow, I need this game, and I certainly wasn't disappointed when I picked the game up from my local Tesco store. Rayman Origins basically brings back the 2D style gameplay from Rayman on PS1, but redefines it for a modern generation. The art style graphics are so beautiful, I mean look at it, it's like I'm watching a Flash cartoon. The humour and slapstick giggles are entertaining and funny. Alongside that, every level is well designed with a great soundtrack to accommodate the levels, even if some of the tracks do sound a bit childish in certain levels, especially the underwater levels. All the boss battles are fun to play through and beat the crap out of, also providing plenty of challenge. Most levels have plenty of secrets to discover, electrons to rescue, lumps to collect, and honestly this game has loads of levels to play through. And there are plenty of side stuff to do, such as chasing after treasure chests. Most levels also have a time trial mode, which are quite fun to play through, I'm not gonna lie. There are plenty of different characters to play as, although some must be unlocked by rescuing a certain amount of Electoons. That's why rescuing Electoons is so rewarding. Oh, and they also unlock the treasure chest levels as well. Every fairy you rescue is worth it because they all give you new powers, and all of the powers are so handy throughout the game. The fairies are very hot as well, I will admit. In my eyes, this is a perfect 2D platformer. This game and Rayman Legends really show that 2D platformers still hold up and are still fun to play today, alongside the other popular game genres out there. If you love 2D platformers, then Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends are definitely up your street. Rayman Origins is easily my favourite 2D platformer ever created. When I was 11 years old, I always wished there was a GTA styled game set in the school setting. It wasn't until later that decade I actually discovered that Rockstar Games made a game like that. Bully, also known as Canis Canem Edit in Europe, is basically a GTA style game set in a school environment. Sure, it does do things differently in some circumstances. Instead of using guns, you have slingshots, stink bombs, firecrackers, and other horror weapons you would use in your school days. Instead of driving cars, you would ride bikes, skateboards, etc. The game follows a 15-year-old boy named Jimmy Hopkins as he tries to survive in the worst school you could ever set foot into, Bulworth Academy. You can also explore Bulworth Town as well as you progress through the game's story. You would think by the title of the game that you would be playing as someone who likes to bully people. Instead you play as someone who likes to stand up to bullies and likes to give them a taste of their own medicine. This game really proves that bullying people really doesn't make you a bigger, funnier or cleverer person. Instead it just makes you like an idiot. And when Jimmy's around, you're just asking for trouble. You can also take part in classes such as chemistry, gym, art and many more. Believe it or not, classes in this game are actually quite fun, well except for English. And completing them really is worth it to unlock new social abilities, weapons and even fighting skills. Every clique and faction leader and even the teachers you meet in the game are very memorable just because of their personalities and how they act around Jimmy. Basically, I love this game and in my opinion it is by far my favourite Rockstar game of all time and very underappreciated compared to Rockstar's other game franchises. This game really needs a second installment. Come on Rockstar, if Red Dead Redemption got another installment, then Bully definitely deserves a second installment. If you're looking for a game to relieve your school moments, this game is definitely for you. Winding up teachers never been this fun. The Last of Us really blew my mind when I played it for the first time. This game is a masterpiece for gaming. It's one of the best stories I've ever experienced in a game. The story follows a man named Joel and a 14-year-old girl named Ellie as they try to survive across whatever remains of the USA after a horrible virus ruined civilization and turned the Earth into a very apocalyptic world. The game really has loads of memorable moments, from places you'll explore and people you'll meet as they try to survive this horrible new world. There is death around every corner and there are plenty of memorable and heartbreaking deaths throughout the game. One death at the beginning of the game really got my heart pounding. When I saw that death, I knew this would be the first of many horrible deaths to come. Literally nowhere in this game feels safe, as you'll need to be really careful when you choose to reload your weapon and when you rummage through your backpack carrying all your supplies. Also, resources are very limited in this game, which really makes you explore the world to find resources, and also the amounts of pictures, recordings and letters you find throughout the world really tell stories about how other people lived in this new world before their luck would run out. The amount of detail the world shows you really gets you invested into the new apocalyptic world. The soundtrack is fantastic, really catching the mood and the atmosphere of the game perfectly. The story really gets you and there are plenty of twists and turns throughout the story, some I really was not expecting. This game really blew my expectations and easily remains one of my favourite games of all time in many ways. If you've not played The Last of Us yet, I feel really sorry for you. Definitely give The Last of Us a try when you get the chance, especially the remastered version on PS4. Trust me, you will not regret it. Also, the sequel came out. The sequel to this game came out earlier this year as well. Shame it wasn't as good though. That game was disappointing.
See, there's a sequel. Wasn't as good.
At number 8 we have by far my favourite Ratchet & Clank installment. Ratchet & Clank 3, also known as Ratchet & Clank 3 Up Your Arsenal in the USA. Don't get me wrong, I love all the Ratchet & Clank games, but Ratchet & Clank 3 really improves one major thing Ratchet & Clank 2 really fucked up on in my opinion. Improved the story and the characters. This is how a third installment of a game series should be done. Ratchet & Clank 3 in my eyes is a perfect installment to the franchise. The story is fantastic and so memorable, the characters and dialogue are the best in the series. The game also introduced my favourite video game antagonist of all time, Dr. Nefarious. He is so funny and memorable, and in some cases can be quite intimidating and cheesy at the same time. The world you get to explore remains as some of the best in the series. The enemies and bosses are by far the best and most memorable in the series as well. The weapons have some kick-ass names, and you also level up your weapons more than once in this game, which really makes the weapons addicting to you to see how powerful they get. The soundtrack is amazing, just like the other Ratchet & Clank games. There are plenty of side things to do, such as crystal hunting on one planet and battling enemies in the battle arena on another, and by the way, that is really fun. And I've wasted so much time on that, more than I should have done, to be honest. That's how fun the battle arenas are in this game. To this day, this is the only Ratchet & Clank game I've invested so much time into that at one point I even had enough bolts to buy the rifle. That is how much time I've invested into this game. The game really is addicting to play from start to finish, and easily remains one of my favourite platformers of all time, and by far my favourite Ratchet & Clank installment. This game is platforming perfection in my eyes, and I love revisiting this game now and again, and to this day remains as the only Ratchet & Clank game I decided to play and beat on challenge mode. If you're a fan of platformers, you'll definitely need to play Ratchet & Clank 3. I guarantee you'll have a blast. I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to stealth games. I don't mind stealth games, don't get me wrong, but the Sly Cooper games are some of the best stealth platformers I've ever played. Especially this one. Sly 2 Band of Thieves is a fun stealth platformer that dwarfs its predecessor in almost every aspect. It's bigger, more engaging, and has lots more to offer. Instead of a linear approach from level to level like in the first game, instead this game is more open world with different hub worlds to explore, more characters to play as, more gameplay mechanics, more stealth moves and gadgets used against your enemies. Even more memorable bad guys to beat up. So yeah, this game is a different beast from the first game. It does things differently and better to make it a bigger and better game. All three Cooper gang members are now playable, each with their own play styles to spice up the gameplay. Sly being the iconic acrobatic thief, able to pull off satisfying stealth abilities. Bentley being the brains of the team with plenty of gadgets in his arsenal. Murray being the muscle of the group, who by the way is so fun to play as he could beat up opponents so easily, pick up objects and enemies, and could smash loads of things up. Each area you explore is well designed, all with fun missions and heists to pull off. The soundtrack is brilliant, catching a feel of each area and environment perfectly. The soundtrack ranges from funky disco music to scary dark atmospheric music, which by the way still sends chills down my spine today every time I hear it. The bad guys, known as the Claw Gang, are so memorable because some look so evil and downright terrifying, with great voice acting to make them more intimidating. Story is Sly, Bentley and Murray go on many heists around the world to steal back Clockwork parts from the last game, which the Claw Gang have stolen in an attempt to reconstruct Clockwork. This game has a great story, although I do think Sly 3 and Thieves in Time do have better stories in my opinion. Do I need to keep explaining why this game is so good? Sly 2 Band of Thieves gave me hours of pure fun and kept me hooked for hours. There is one genre of games the PS Vita is lacking, it is definitely first-person shooters. But in 2013, over a year after the PS Vita was launched, Killzone Mercenary was released on a handheld and it filled in that gap perfectly. This is an amazing shooter with an entertaining campaign, fun and addicting multiplayer that really keeps you coming back for more. The money system is so addicting and satisfying to earn. Depending how you kill your enemies, earning headshots gives you more money. Even picking up ammo gives you money. That just shows how diverse the money system is in this game. It is so fun and addicting to play through. There are plenty of items and weapons to buy that can have different capabilities and can really spice up the gameplay. The campaign follows a mercenary named Aaron Dana who loves money but later realises war is not about money. In the campaign you can play on both sides of the war with the ISA and the Helghast, which previous Killzone campaigns have not done before. Killzone Mercenary is still the only Killzone game where you can actually play as the Helghast in a few of the missions. The campaign has a good variety of objectives in each mission and even has side contracts where you can revisit the missions but with certain objectives with a certain gun or how you complete the mission. The multiplayer has plenty of maps to play on and the map size are perfect for 8-player online multiplayer. Killzone Mercenary is how a PS Vita shooter should be done, and it is even my favourite Killzone game of all time and also my favourite PlayStation Vita game ever made. Botzone is also available on the game and is a great way to practice your online skills. Killzone Mercenary is a good example of a portable first-person shooter done right. This game really is one of the best exclusives on PS Vita, and this game did the handheld proud. This is one Vita game that really shows off the power and capabilities of the PlayStation Vita. When I was a kid, I loved many TV shows on Nickelodeon, with Danny Phantom being my favourite. When I saw Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island on the shelf at a store, I begged my mum to buy it for me for my birthday. I got it for my birthday that year, and boy, I was not disappointed. This game is a solid platform with many favourite characters from Sponge SquarePants, Fairy Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, and of course Danny Phantom. All 4 shows team up to save an island called Volcano Island from an evil monster named the Margu, who by the way is a big powerful monster who should not be underestimated. This game is beautiful, with each level offering different environments, platforming challenges, new objectives, and even new characters to rescue and play as. The environments change as you progress through the games, make each level feel memorable and unique. The soundtrack is fantastic, the enemies are memorable and powerful, can really pack a punch. Maybe except for the enemies in the first 2 levels. You can explore forests, shipwrecks, volcanoes, and many more beautiful areas around Volcano Island. The hub world Camp Castaway also offers bonus levels and is really fun to navigate, as it really feels like home although you are not at home. You can customise each character's costumes to find items for all 4 shows located around Volcano Island to unlock the bonus levels, which by the way are really fun and fast paced. The difficulty is perfect for new and experienced platform gamers as the game progresses. When I played this game, I was surprised by how detailed and fun this game is. I have so many memories from this game and I still revisit it occasionally, even over 10 years after my mum brought it for me. This game is a surprisingly solid platform and in my opinion still holds up very well today. If you're a Nickelodeon fan, I definitely recommend this game. This game deserves a remaster in my opinion. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered is my favourite Call of Duty game of all time. When I played the original version of this game for the first time on PS3 many years ago, I was really blown away by this game. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare really got me immersed. It really felt like I joined the army, as I really felt like a soldier as I played through the game's amazing story. While the story in this game in my opinion is not as engaging as Modern Warfare 2 and 3, but the story in this game is still entertaining and very memorable in many places. Your teammates are all memorable characters and the antagonists really impact the game's setting and story. Every mission is memorable and they all blew my mind by how each they had different environments and objectives to always keep you engaged. This game really looks beautiful. It is so well detailed that when I was a kid I really felt like I was part of this game and it really felt like I did join the army. That feeling felt really amazing as a kid by the way. The multiplayer is fun and addicting and leveling up and new weapons felt really amazing. I even wanted to level up so I could just hear that level up sound. A variety of guns you can use in single player mode and multiplayer really can change up the pace of the mission and multiplayer games you are in, and the attachments you can find and unlock can really be the key for certain situations. The maps range in size and are all memorable, and multiplayer offers plenty of game types including the fan favourite Team Deathmatch. This game was revolutionary when it came out. Not only did it change the Call of Duty franchise forever, it even changed to define the first person shooter genre as a whole. This game for me was revolutionary. It kept me so engaged and online is so much fun. I'd highly recommend this game if you're a fan of first person shooters. Easily one of the best campaigns I've ever played in gaming. In fact, I just don't recommend it. I urge you to play this game, especially the remaster version of this game on PS4 and Xbox One. Number 3 goes to my favourite multiplayer game of all time and easily the most addicting game I have ever played, Team Fortress 2. This was a game I played on the Orange Box 90% of the time. Half-Life 2 and Portal are also fantastic games, don't get me wrong, but Team Fortress 2 is so addicting to play. I eventually downloaded the PC version one day, which by the way is the only game I play on PC. But when I did get this game for PC, I could not leave this game alone. The PC version of this game is easily the best way to play this game because it offers so much more compared to the Orange Box version. This game has so many different maps to play on, all well designed and fun to explore, awesome game modes from Capture the Flag, King of the Hill and so many more. All 9 characters or classes as they are called in this game are all fun to play as, all hilariously entertaining in their own right, all voiced by brilliant voice actors. Honestly, I would love to see an episode series of all these characters. They are that entertaining. The game has plenty of fun and ridiculous weapons to use. Each character has plenty of hats and outfits they can be customised with. All characters have their own strengths and weaknesses, which makes all 9 characters all fair and well balanced. This game also has a mode called Man vs Machine, which is an amazing addition to the game. Man vs Machine is a perfect change of pace to the game, which involves teaming up with 5 friends going up against waves of robots, which is fun and full of pure carnage. Team Fortress 2 on PC offers so much to do and is the perfect game to play if you are a fan of online shooters. This is easily my favourite first person shooter game of all time. It brings back so many fun memories, which I will cherish forever. I would love to see the PC version of this game get ported over to console someday. I really would love to see that happen one day, wouldn't you? The Crash Bandicoot series is my childhood. I poured a ridiculous number of hours into Crash Bandicoot games as a kid, and still do now to be honest. Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped is my favourite in the series because it kept everything that made Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2 great games and added even more to it to make it, in my opinion, the definitive Crash Bandicoot game. This game is platforming bliss. Every time period level you get to play through are fun and so memorable, very well designed. The platforming is so smooth and the added vehicle segments are so much fun, ranging from motorcycles, riding bombers and many more. Crash Bandicoot games are well known for being addicting platformers, and this game really is addicting in every aspect. There is even more unlockables and replay value added to this game, such as the time trials, which I'm not the best at honestly, but are still fun to play through. The power-ups you get after beating a boss are so damn useful and satisfying to use. The bosses in the game are the most memorable in the series, not just by personality, but also how they try to kill you, and the award is so worth it. Coco Bandicoot is also a playable character in this game that is actually a nice touch of the game. To be fair, she does not get any platforming stages, but quite a few vehicle segments, which honestly are quite fun. The levels in this game are also well detailed, range from time periods such as the medieval times, Egyptian times, Arabian times, future, and so much more. Honestly, there is not a single level in this game that I hate, well maybe except for Rings of Power, and for a platforming game with 28 different levels, that just says how good this game is. This game also has the best story in Crash Bandicoot, although the story in Crash Bandicoot is not its selling point. The game takes place straight after the platforming events of the previous game, and travelling through time to stop Cortex's minions collecting crystals really was a nice way to conclude the platforming trilogy made by Naughty Dog. Compared to the previous games, Crash Bandicoot 3 is basically like Ratchet Clank 3. It is on steroids compared to the previous two installments. I never got bored of this game, even after 10 years of first playing it. Crash Team Racing alongside the main trilogy is also an amazing game. Play that alongside the main platformers as well. Trust me, you won't regret it if you're a fan of racing games. This was not the first Crash Bandicoot game I played, but this one for me was the most memorable and addicting to play, and this game really never gets old for me. I love this game that much, and the Crash Bandicoot series as a whole. If it wasn't for Crash Bandicoot, I would not be into gaming like I am today. Simple as that. I love the Crash Bandicoot series that much, and its games bring back so many happy gaming memories and still continue to do so to this very day. If you know me, then you know one thing. That is that the Jak and Daxter series is my favourite game series of all time. I love all 4 Jak and Daxter games made by Naughty Dog very dearly. Jak and Daxter Precursor Legacy I love for being an amazing fun open world platformer. Jak 2 I love for being a really gritty darker game. Jak 3 I love for being more open world, adding in more wasteland vehicle missions which are really fun. And Jak X I love for being an amazing racing game which has made me rage so many times in the past. But if I had to pick one of the Jak and Daxter games, I would have to go for Jak 2 Renegade. I love everything about this game, quite literally. Everything about this game is so badass, and that is the key word for this game, badass. Now I'm going to be using that word quite a lot when I describe this game. The story in this game is so badass, the new enemies you get to face are more badass, the morph gun mods are so badass and satisfying to use. Jak is a completely different character in this game, he's an absolute badass in this game, and his new personality and appearance to go with him really makes him easily my favourite video game character of all time. The story in this game is also one of my favourites in gaming. After the ending of the first game, Jak, Daxter, Samos and Kira discover a Rift Ride, and it takes them to a new world. The future of their world, things go bad as they arrive. Jak and Daxter separate from Samos and Kira in the Rift Ride and are teleported to Haven City. Jak is kidnapped by Errol and the Crimson Guards when he arrives, so Baron Praxis can run horrible experiments on him. This lasts for 2 years, by the way. After Daxter rescues Jak 2 years later, Jak is determined to get his revenge on Baron Praxis and do whatever it takes to do it. There is so much more to the story and plenty of twists to make it one of my favourites in gaming history, if not my favourite. The weapons Jak gets to use are also satisfying and all have their own unique uses and purposes that are so memorable to use. Jak's new Dark Jak powers, which he got when being in prison, are also so satisfying and fun to use. Using a Dark Bomb attack on so many enemies and seeing them all die in slow motion is so unbelievably satisfying to watch. I honestly cannot describe how satisfying this is. The characters in this game are all memorable in their own right, each with their own personalities and backstories. The enemies of the metalheads are really gruesome and tough creatures. There are also different species of metalheads, some tougher than others. Haven City is such a dark and gritty place. That just explains the new world as a whole that Jak and Daxter are in. Every mission in this game is so fun and memorable, and the difficulty is just right for me. I even love the difficulty in this game. That just shows how much I love this game. The soundtrack is great, although I do think the other Jak and Daxter games do have a better soundtrack. Not that Jak 2's soundtrack is bad, I still love it. I love every single mission in this game. That shows how much I love this game, really. I especially love Jak's new personality in this game. Jak is a completely different character in this game than he was in the Precursor Legacy, which is understandable due to being tortured and imprisoned for 2 years. He is much more complex in this game. He can now talk, has a much bigger personality, and I just love how he does not give a shit about anything. He is such a badass and fearless character. This game is literally Grand Theft Auto and Crash Bandicoot combined. Crash Bandicoot because the game took a lot of inspiration from the Crash Bandicoot games in terms of controls and even tweaked it to make it feel a bit more of a modern game. And Grand Theft Auto due to the game being set in an open world city with loads of cars to hijack and ride around in. In a nutshell, this game is so badass. For that reason, it is my favourite game of all time. I love all the Jak and Daxter games made by Naughty Dog so much, especially this one. So there you have it, my top 25 favourite video games of all time as of Christmas 2020. Feel free to tell me your favourite video games of all time in the comments below, because I would love to know what your favourite games of all time are. Also let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my choices that I've picked from this list. There are so many great games out there, so there are definitely loads of gems I've missed out on. So yeah, feel free to leave a comment telling me your favourite games. Tell me your least favourite games, I don't mind either way. Anyway, as always guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe for keep updated with all the gaming content uploads to this channel. I hope you all have an amazing Christmas and more importantly, a happy new year, because let's be honest, 2020 was a bit of a shitstorm, am I right? Thank you for watching, I hope to see you all in the new year. Peace.